So I want to tell you a story about the busiest week of my entire life. Normally, as a pastor, the week of Christmas is a very, very busy week, right? Um, but this week that I had pales in comparison. This year was a busy Christmas week, as it always is, but still. The busiest week of my life was in my senior year of college. It was a couple weeks before finals that spring. And I had to cram everything that I needed to do in an entire week into just 3 days. See, I decided that when I graduated from college, I really wanted some sort of international experience, not just to travel, but to actually go and live somewhere and to build relationships, to do something productive in another country for a while, hopefully learn a new language fluently. And so amongst a couple other opportunities that I had done, I had applied, written essays, and submitted references, and had been accepted to get my MBA at a business school in France. And it seemed like, a really great job. I studied business. Time to move on to the next, right? I remember during that time, I was telling my campus pastor at the Lutheran Student Center about my grand idea of what I wanted to do when I graduated. And he told me about this program that the Lutheran Church has called Young Adults in Global Mission, where you spend a year as a missionary working locally with churches, schools, and other organizations in another country. And so I was like, great, that seems like a good opportunity. So I applied to that too, same thing, did all the essays, submitted everything, all the church forms, because church things come with extra forms. I'd completed phone interviews and had been selected to go to a weekend discernment interview in person as a finalist for this program. And this brings us to this week in April, because I needed to be on a plane to go to this interview for the church really early on Thursday morning, which means I had to get everything done before then to be done by Wednesday night. Did I mention this was just a couple weeks before finals? This semester, I had also done something a little extra crazy. I was taking 19 credits, which a normal full-time workload is 15 credits. I just was really determined I was going to graduate that semester, and so I needed to get everything in. It was a lot. I don't ever recommend doing that. I was also the president of my sorority, which turned out to be a lot more work than I thought it would be too. And I had a job on campus. So when I got up on Monday morning that week, I did not go to sleep until I went to bed on Wednesday night after everything was done and I had finally packed. Yeah, your eyeballs, that's pretty much what mine looked. Rebecca's like, that's pretty much what my eyeballs look like when this happened. See, professors are really good about like you missing class if you turn everything in ahead of time, right? Not late, ahead of time. And on top of that, I had a big exam that week in my financial securities analysis class. Yeah, it was definitely as hard as it sounds. So there was a lot. But come Wednesday, against all odds, I managed to get everything done. And I was sitting at my kitchen counter at my apartment after getting home from work at about 10 p.m. that Wednesday night. And my roommate just asked me how everything was going. And I told her I was exhausted. Like, honestly, the most exhausted I've ever been. After, staying up 2 days, just trying to get everything done to go to this interview. And I didn't even know what I wanted to do yet, right? Like I'd never heard of this program before. And then all of a sudden it's just like, I'm changing my entire life just to get to an interview for it. Was it worth it? And my roommate just laughed at me and said, AJ, I think that what you did this week means that you kind of have made your choice. You have picked out what is your priority. And then she said something I want you to listen to very closely. She asked me, what's important? What's important? In the midst of our daily lives, I think this is a really good question. to just stop for a minute and ask ourselves, what's important? What are we working towards? What are our priorities? Like maybe you've had days that sound like this. You had to run to the doctor after you drop your kids off from school, and then you try to scramble to the office and you're behind on everything, and you have a big meeting, and then you spend your lunch hour actually eating in the car because you're running errands because you need to go to the pharmacy and then pick up dry cleaning, and then try to answer some emails, and then you have to pick your kids up again, and then you cram through the McDonald's drive-through in order to hopefully get them fed, make a hasty dinner with them, tell them you love them, put them to bed, and then you're back to work. Life can be really exhausting. What's important? In case you aren't used to hearing sermons on this particular gospel lesson, it's because in the Lutheran Church, pastors don't often preach the first Sunday after Christmas. We usually do something called lessons and carols, which we're going to do next week. Don't worry, I wasn't going to take that away from you. We usually take a break from this just to listen, just to be present in the Christmas story. Christmas comes with its own set of chaos, right? And then we jump right into the new year. If you're in school, you're beginning to prepare for a new semester. For all of us just trying to think about what a new year will bring, trying to restart, to find our priorities, which will come with a whole set of new challenges this year. Because for many of us, our lives and therefore our priorities have drastically changed in this past year. Things happen in our lives that cause that. First of all, the birth of Jesus made his parents' priorities very, very different from what they're going to be from now on. And also for us, when we celebrate Christmas and we welcome the birth of Christ, living in the wake of Christ also changes our priorities. In our gospel lesson, we meet Simeon and Anna, who stop what they're doing to declare that Jesus is the Messiah. Jesus is the Messiah. This is so incredibly important. It's the point of all of it. What is important this Christmas? Now, I'm not saying that the work doesn't have to be done, and then I'm not saying that it's wrong to prioritize these things in our lives, in our daily lives. I am saying is that Christmas gives us a chance to stop and take a moment to prioritize God, the Emmanuel, the God with us. 2021 is going to be a new year with new sets of crazy and new opportunities, and one of which may be an opportunity to do some reprioritizing. Like, how can we prioritize God this coming year? A good way may just be starting your day off with an intentional prayer or devotion. Or if you're like me, in the afternoon, because I don't do intelligent things in the morning, except on Sundays. And the thing is like, I struggle with this too, just like everyone else. Like everybody thinks, pastors work at churches, they're like, holy, prioritizing God all the time. Well, let me tell you, I can get so caught up in the day-to-day stressors and all the different administrative things that go on at a church that I even sometimes forget to prioritize the main point, what's important. That Jesus, that God came into this world, that a baby was born so that we may know the love and the grace that God has for each and every one of us. It's pretty important stuff. So how this year can we prioritize God? And how can we encourage others to prioritize God? to stop, to take a moment away from our crazy lives and all of our obligations and the stressors that just come with being human? What are the things that we can do? It's that thing that people say about, keeping Christmas alive all the time, that Christmas spirit. That doesn't mean leaving our lights up all year long. It doesn't mean leaving our trees up till July. Though don't lie, I know a couple of you are probably going to do that. It's about the gift of grace that God has given us through Jesus and remembering that and prioritizing God in our lives in and amongst everything else that we do. That's my challenge to you for this new year. How can we prioritize God? Amen.